Leave it, drop it, hit it.
I'm so over that.
Didn't finish, and it was one of a time. Leave it, drop it, hit it.
Give it up, babe.
We don't finish, it doesn't even matter.
You gonna finish that?
Of course not.
I'm done here.
Welcome to You Gonna Finish That. I'm Zila.
And I'm Adji.
And this is our podcast where we discuss our long list of unfinished business. So today we have a very special guest, our cousin, and my best friend, Morgan.
Woo! Welcome.
Thank you so much for coming.
No problem.
We're excited to yap. Me and Morgan have been friends, we've been cousins for our entire life, but we've been friends for over a decade now. Yeah. We don't want to age ourselves.
Okay.
It's been a few years. And yeah, I feel like we're excited to have you as a guest. So we have started and stopped a lot of things together.
Mm-hmm.
Movies, many books, book clubs. We have a lot of dreams of being like thought daughters. That like sometimes work out, sometimes thought daughters.
Not
But yeah, so
I guess for the people who are listening only audio, it's THOUGHT.
Yeah. Spell it out. Yes. But do people even use the other thought daughter? There's no more thought daughters. There's only thought daughters.
I think they still do sometimes.
Okay. Well, let's make it clear. You're right. But so we've started and stopped things together. We've been on trips together. But today we're here to talk about language.
Yes.
So can you tell us a little bit about what language or languages that you have started and maybe put down at some point? Because this is something that I feel like is a very universal thing that people start.
Very common.
Yeah, there are three that come to mind. I'll give you the spiel. So, Urdu.
I did not know that was
I forgot about Urdu.
I studied Urdu for like 1 year in undergrad.
Okay.
I wanted to learn Hindi because I was obsessed with Bollywood movies. And subtitles in my attention span was just, they weren't adding up. And so I said, I'm going to learn Hindi. But when I went to the advisor for that language, they were like, oh, you're already in the middle of this year. You might as well do Urdu. Because it's spoken the same as Hindi, but it's just written in Arabic, and I could use it more for a job.
Interesting.
So I took Urdu, and it was taught by a professor he was a professor for mathematics at the university, but as a TA for Urdu.
Okay.
Because that's how he not TA, but a teacher for Urdu, so he wouldn't have to pay for his PhD or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was the only person in that class that was black. I was the only person in that class outside of one white guy who was obsessed with joining the military and becoming like this Arabic.
Oh my God.
Right.
Whatever.
Right.
So it was a white guy, it was me, and then everybody else was Indian or Pakistani.
Okay. How was that?
I got one stalker from that.
Oh.
It wasn't the white guy.
I'm glad it wasn't the white guy.
It was a brown guy.
Okay.
And I don't want to. The way that I feel like he stalked me is that I just never liked him like that. I needed help with Urdu, y'all.
Okay.
I just reading those scripts from this side to this side.
Wait, it goes backwards?
It's like Arabic. You read it like Arabic, so it's not
Okay.
left to right, but right to left.
Okay.
They were like Shoti Hayes and Olives, and I said, how do you pronounce that? Like, not the actual the name of the script, but like the actual word together. So I was stressed, and I asked the white guy for help because he already knew Arabic, and I asked this one brown guy who sat next to me, and after college, he just kept following me on every social media and talking to me, even though I wouldn't respond.
Was it in Urdu?
No, he followed me on my photography Instagram, and then would just comment.
Oh God!
Comment on stuff, and this is 5 years after I've graduated. He was younger than us.
Did you have really high interaction? Like you were almost study partners, or just
once or twice? But I feel like he liked me, and I just was like, you're a kid, and I just want to pass his class. And so, I just don't think we ever talked in that way.
Yeah.
And then, like, he followed me. He tried to add me on Facebook, but then he kept messaging me, so that I removed him on Facebook. Then he added me on my regular Instagram, and I'm like, okay, this is when it was public. And then I removed him off that because he just, like, respond to everything I posted.
Yeah.
And then he added me on my photography Instagram, which I don't get on that frequently. So I posted, like, I think 2 years ago I went to Montreal or Paris or something. And then he
2 years ago? This was like,
recent.
I mean, we went to school a while ago.
And he commented like, oh, you know French too? Like, da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I have never responded.
It's funny he's trying to connect with you over language. He's like, oh, you also... I was like, did you even really learn Urdu? Like,
I never really learned Urdu.
Do you feel like that turned you off to continuing to learn Urdu?
No, what turned me off was, like, honestly, I think the stress of college and then trying to learn the language just didn't mix with me. Like, that was it was a lot going on.
For sure.
And so I picked up the book again recently, and I was like, holy shit, this actually sounds like the way it's read. So it was literally just, I don't know why it was so difficult for me. I don't know if I was just not in the right, space.
Yeah.
Kinda
there
like,
are other barriers sometimes.
Yeah. Like with cooking, sometimes you don't understand how to boil an egg, and then one day it clicks. I was like, wait a minute, Allah does sound like this.
I see.
So,
that's so real, though, the experience of, like, learning something and it be feeling hard and not making sense at the time, but you come back to that thing later, and it's almost as if it's, like, common sense. I think it's just, like, you're just kind of digesting it for a bit,
Yeah. I just watched a video. I've been into kind of like, I don't know, YouTube. Anyway, so there's a guy who's teaching people how to learn. I know, I'm kind of an intellectual. But this guy was talking about learning, and he was saying that the consumption period has to be the same. You have to have a digestion period for learning things. That is the same amount of time as the consumption period, because that actually... Like, it doesn't matter how much you read, for example. If you're not spending an equal amount of time, like, thinking and digesting and applying the things that you read, you won't retain the information. So maybe you just needed a little bit of time for Urdu to, like, simmer. When you were learning Urdu, were you watching Bollywood trying to, like, piece things together?
I think that was the disconnect as well. Like, I just didn't stick with that either.
Okay.
I saw, like, my favorite Shah Rukh Khan movies, and I just stopped.
Okay.
I was like, oh, okay, I've seen all my favorite movies at this point. Like, I don't need to watch another thing on Netflix.
I see.
I don't need to see another Bachan. I'm good. But I was in the middle of class, so I wasn't good. And so that's Urdu.
So
was that the first language class that you took, like, ever?
No, French was the first, which we'll talk about extensively.
Okay, all right.
The second language I wanted to learn was Spanish.
Okay.
I would say it was because my best friend is Mexican, but truly I met an Argentinian in Brazil. I was very influenced. I wanted to keep in touch, and I picked up the Easies, like, Spanish book, the little tiny book with the words, and, like, as a kid, I had this one friend, this best friend too, and she was also Mexican, and so at the time I didn't realize she was Mexican. Didn't click. I thought she was light-skinned. This is another story. She had curly hair like Zila. I mean, I know. You never know.
Yeah.
And so, in class, she was always really good at saying, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I was like, damn, girl, we're 6. Yeah. You really know how to count. So it connected once. I figured out she was Latino, but then I went to Brazil, like, my last year of college, and I met this guy from Argentina, and he was really sweet, and he messaged me, but it was a language disconnect. And so I just was like, maybe he knew a little English, but I didn't, it wasn't enough. And I tried for like maybe a month or two, because he invited me to go to Spain, and then I was
wow.
Yeah,
that would get me into gear as well.
Yeah, I was like, post graduation, like, come visit me in Spain. Like, I'm gonna move to Spain. You should come to Spain. He went to Mallorca. Okay. And he lives there now. He scuba dives, so I should have went. Living a dream, super hot still. Anyway,
so you still follow him?
No, not on Instagram.
Okay.
I think we're still friends on Facebook, but yeah.
Interesting.
Time.
I too once Go ahead.
Sorry. I was going to ask, like, so you went to Brazil and met an Argentinian, but, like, did you know any Portuguese, like, going to Brazil?
Of course not. I went to Brazil to study monkeys.
She did. This is a true story.
I went
That's
to
true,
Brazil to study marmoset monkeys.
Yeah.
Beautiful, tiny squirrel-like monkeys. Didn't know any Portuguese. They didn't let us off the. They didn't let us off the ranch that much to need it. I stayed an extra week with my friend Shakari, and yeah, that extra week we just got by off smiles and being black. And I love Brazil. You know a lot. If you're pretty black and you walk around, they not gonna.
What? Say less.
It was say less for real.
Yeah.
The most I got was, "Can I kiss?" And I said, no. But
It's funny because in the course of you telling about languages, there are so many things I want to ask you about the starting and stopping,
Yes,
monkeys
exactly.
and like.
Oh,
Well, you'll just be a repeat guest because
multifaceted procrastinator here.
yeah, a film connoisseur.
Master of none.
Yeah,
Consumer of many.
consumer of many.
Yeah.
Yes, we love to see it. That's the kind of energy we want on this podcast, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100%.
Tell a story.
She can spit a tale. But yeah, so I do want to talk about French though.
Oh, French. So let's talk about French. Oh my God. So as I said earlier, I will let you know, I've taken French since I was in like maybe 5th grade.
Okay.
Now,
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. 5th grade. It was like a requirement because, you know, Chicago schools, they have you either in gifted or IB, you do a language. So French since 5th grade. Couldn't tell you. I honestly can't read French. That's the thing. It's so interesting. Like, but I think people don't talk about the thing about language is people say a lot about speaking. Like you need to speak it to like really learn it.
Yeah.
But if you're a person who doesn't talk that much in general, if I don't talk in English, I'm not gonna talk in French.
Yeah.
Like if I have a hard
so
time
true.
like verbalizing a thought in English, it's not gonna be like, oh my God, now I'm just like, you know, this philosopher.
Right.
I'm still saying, it's just like, you know, an accent, like, so, yeah. If you're not asking me what's an order to eat,
Right.
I have no thoughts.
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
100% understand that.
French.
Okay.
Took it all the way through high school. Was in the honor society, so I was at a point I was pretty decent.
Okay.
Got to college, realized that shit ain't mean nothing.
Yeah. High school language learning a bit
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A bit lazier.
So I got to college. I took it with one of my best friends at the time, Justin.
Okay.
Can't take a class with a friend because you're just gonna laugh.
You're just gonna
constantly kikiing. Spent a lot of time making fun of this guy who looked like Ponce de Leon.
Like, sorry, what?
He looked like Ponce de Leon. Like, I just remember our whole like first year because you had to take French. You had to take one language in U of I for I think a year or two. Maybe it was like 2 years max.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember those first 2 years. It was the first year actually because he was older than us. It was the same guy in the class, and he would like steal Justin's seat.
Oh no!
And I just couldn't understand why you would take the one person I knew seat. Like this is the one other black person in this class.
It's an unspoken given.
Like, and it was so weird because like Justin would come in late, and I would just be in my usual seat. But here's Ponce, and he's next to me, and he wants to talk to me in French. And meanwhile, me and Justin ain't did no fucking homework. I mean, we've done homework, but we're not doing the work. You know, like
Right.
Yeah.
we're not doing the work.
Right.
And so like I'm expecting to sit next to him and kiki
Right.
and like kind of bullshit.
And he was
And here's Ponce trying to have whole conversations with me.
very unfair.
And I just did not respect him until I found out Ponce de Leon was half Jamaican.
Oh no!
That man was black!
He was just trying to be in on it with y'all.
No, he had a crush on me, I guess.
Oh,
I didn't
got
know
it.
that, but Justin figured
Makes
it out.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he was trying
Yeah.
to-
But I just didn't know he was black at all. He was very white passing.
I see.
So I'm like, this man is literally taking away my one, black person.
I'm so sorry.
It was okay. He was also a math major. Something about math and language is so interesting.
You know,
He was
It is a
really good at
language.
and I also feel like there's something about languages and love and like kind of romance. I feel like the communication connection. I'm finding a pattern in these.
Oh, I was annoyed with him the whole time.
Right.
Okay. I could not stand him, and he didn't understand, and I didn't understand that he was annoying me for this purpose. So
did you just decide to take French because it was just like
it was already continuation. I was hyped. I said I'm in the honor society and like I should be able to do these things. But when you have a professor for French from Senegal, I'm not doing much. I wasn't doing much. It wasn't much going on. Like this man was really speaking French. He also is a professor of math. Like I don't know what was going on with the French with the language department in our school and like
they were just getting the international people to that's so cheap.
It was
cheap. Yeah.
But yeah, you know,
but it's interesting because you, from what I understand, I mean, you love like Paris. You love going to Paris.
Yes.
So.
And it's Madeline. That was my first cartoon as a kid.
Okay.
I love that little girl going to school and her shenanigans.
Yeah, she was awesome.
And I just think that I used to think my name was Eloise. You remember Eloise at the Plaza?
Oh, right. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, so, but then, you know, this is the thing about language as well. I learned to read through like sounding things out.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, I pronounce things wrong.
Yeah, that's so real.
And,
it's a sign of being gifted.
Yeah.
That you like read before you were introduced to words.
Yeah.
But...
So I would see her name and I'm like, well, my middle name starts with E too, and it's spelled kind of like that. So it must be Eloise. So I would go around and I'm like, what's your name? Because, you know, stranger danger. I'm like, Morgan Eloise. And she was like, who's Eloise? I said, Eloise at the plaza. Like, it's like that. She's like, no. And she would spell it out. And I'm like,
I see.
So I found out my middle name a couple years after.
For the record, her middle name is not Eloise.
Not at all.
Sound like that.
It's close. I mean, I could see how you got there.
Yeah. And so, I liked Madeline a lot. And then I just kept going with French because I did enjoy that steak we had in 6th grade, that field trip. And it took us to a restaurant to eat French food, and I was the only person to ask for A1 steak sauce. That was a faux pas.
French.
Ooh, look at you using real French words.
Yeah.
I was told that was très gâteau. Because I started everyone asking for A1 steak sauce.
It's called being a pioneer. It's called being the vocal one.
And as I have grown older, French food is nasty too.
It is, and it needs a steak sauce.
It needs a sauce. I mean, that little green butter they put on top wasn't doing much. The steak was tough. But I was appreciating. I appreciated the experience and trying something different.
Right.
And so I just kept going and kept going and kept going.
I see.
And then college came, and I always liked France. I thought it was a place I wanted to be. People know how to dress.
Yes.
Slightly dirty, but very cool. You know, I just saw myself there.
Real.
Speaking, I never imagined, but I did see.
In all your imaginations of going there,
I was just walking around.
So,
I was seeing everything.
What level of French do you feel like you can communicate in right now? Like you.
See, I'm going. So this is the thing. I'm going to Montreal on Thursday, and they say bonjour, hi to you to see, you know, if you want to speak in French or if you want to speak in English.
A test right away.
And I'm very good at pronouncing French words because if you've been taking something for so long,
you kind of like
know how it. Say it. And so if I was to say bonjour, like that's not the way I would say it, but like if I was to say that, they would start. And so. I think I'm a high person, but I love to read it when I'm walking around, and you know that's my little brain working. Yeah. It's just speaking in general. It's just not something that I'm like very. You know, I'm gonna do. Understand. So but French, I've taken that. I took it again. At Northwestern, like as a.
You did as an adult, like after college. As an adult,
for the certification, spent $10,000. You know, with $10,000 until Zyla's friend Julianne was like, girl, stop taking them classes and go to Alliance Française downtown and just take $1,000 to go to France. And I was like, duh.
Wow, I didn't know that was my friend that.
Yeah, it was after our tragic camping.
Oh my
trip.
God. That's another thing we started and stopped together.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, I did start taking French to Alliance Française. And
Okay.
I think that, like, for speaking, I can, like, say what I want to order for food.
Nice.
My name.
Important.
I can understand directions. Like, I know, like, right, left, like, forward, backwards, things like that. But if you were to ask me, like, to come up with the sentence in my head and vocally say it, I wouldn't be able to, but I would be able to write it down and just show you.
Okay.
Yeah. It is,
So,
isn't maybe like just a nervousness in speaking.
Yeah, it is.
And I also feel like, because I
So-
also have this similar situation. I've taken Spanish class since like second grade to the end of high school.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take it in college. Do the Duolingo, all the other stuff. But there's something about, it's because the way you learn language as a child is like, you see something like I have a wallet here, like, and this is like, I learned the word for wallet. But when I'm learning a language, I'm like, okay, there's this thing, and in English that's wallet, and what does that mean in this language? And there's like, it's much longer than you would ever use to say something in your own like native tongue. And so like, it makes me feel like I can't speak it at all because it's so slow. Like, you would never be able to like keep up that way.
You're translating in your head.
Yeah.
That's so real. Yeah. I also took Spanish for a long time from grade school through college. There was a period where I didn't use it at all. But then like once I got more jobs where I was like in more Spanish speaking communities, I started using it more. But my knowledge becomes very limited to the job. So I know a lot. I worked at a T-Mobile. I can tell you, recargar tu teléfono, like I could talk to you about, your phone plan in Spanish. Other things are a little more difficult, you know what I mean? So it's like, what you see in front of you and like what you are using it for is more relevant and like helps you learn. But and then
also like when you listen to someone speaking that language, like if it's easier for me to just like kind of turn my brain off and listen to like the entire thing that they said rather than like hearing every word and translating the words in real time because that's so like But if I like just kind of like am hearing what they're saying, like I'm more understanding contextually what they're talking about than like what each of the words means.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I have to use Spanish at my job now, and I get the gist, and I just respond in English as best I can. Yeah. I did try to learn French. I kind of wanted to. I mean, we talked about learning like a language for a guy. Mm-hmm. I met that guy in France.
Yeah,
I met this guy. He was so fine to me. He was fine, right?
He was tall. He was beautiful. Yeah.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Okay. Thank you. I need to confirm. But we met this guy because we went to France together, and it was very, very fun.
It was very fun.
Morgan carried. She carried pretty well, I will say, especially ordering food.
Yes, ordering food definitely. Yeah. I need to survive.
Yeah.
Do I need to like talk to people to survive?
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of language happening here.
It's like,
But we did, meet these guys. Thankfully, they spoke more English. But even after we left, I was talking to him, and I was trying to learn French through Duolingo. So I could, communicate a little bit.
That is not gonna work, girl.
And why doesn't Duolingo work?
It's all fun and games.
Has anyone ever met anyone who has like learned a language through Duolingo?
No, and you know what it is? I think it's sentence structure. They don't really teach you structures. They just teach you words, and it's the most random words.
Yeah.
You gotta be careful because that owl I hear like comes after people.
I deleted it off my phone.
Duolingo, I will say I had a 175-day streak on Duolingo. And I lost it. I lost it one of the most freeing days of my life. Like, the relief that my body felt after not having to keep that fucking dramatic ass owl happy.
Yeah.
But
I was just gonna say it like every day has a new thing. Like it'll be a skeleton of an owl, or he'll be sick like you neglect me. Like chill.
No, it doesn't. That's crazy. Yeah, the notifications for that app are quite annoying.
Yeah.
And it's actually kind of a reminder every day that you're not like applying yourself, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say though, Morgan?
I was gonna say, even though Duolingo doesn't work, that stock went up so much. I just bought like 2 and it doubled. Like I sold it because of Trump is in office, but like Duolingo stock was so cheap, and then it went up from
Really?
I think I bought it for 15 or 20, and it went up to 80.
Wow.
I'm like, ooh, the owl must be working hard.
The
but I think
owl-
something with AI.
Yeah, I truly couldn't tell you anything. Stocks is another topic I'd like to get into at some point. I mean, for a different episode. You truly are the queen of you both, I think you and Adji are hobby enthusiasts.
Yeah.
I don't think you necessarily drop your hobbies.
Yeah.
But you just continue, your photography website.
The Ikigai, yeah.
You're an amazing
Oh,
photographer.
Ikigai.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, what is it called?
There's so many things.
I don't know if I'm saying it right. Maybe it's Ikigai.
I just don't know what it is, but the flower arrangement, kind of, yes, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I could be wrong, though. I never Googled how to say it correctly. There was a time in class where we read a book about leopards, and I said, the leopard. The leopard. Wait, for 5 minutes straight. Then it just clicked. I kept reading it. I'm
Something is not right.
Something ain't right. And I was like, wait, oh my God, this whole time reading the book in anthropology, it was about a leopard.
That's so
funny.
real, though, because why does English like that? Also, for me, that word, because you told me about that story and you said you read that word when you were a child and that's just how you say it now. And then I have that for diaspora. No, it's diaspora. I still am. I cannot. And it's bad because every Black person that talks to me is like, she's never encountered this word before. I have encountered the word diaspora before, but in my mind, it's just diaspora. We're part of the diaspora.
The first chapter book I ever read was Scooby-Doo and the Masked Magician, but I read the whole book reading it as Magician. And I came home so proud. I was like, hey, I just finished a chapter book. And my mom was like, oh, what was it about? And I was saying the Masked Magician. She was like, I just don't know what that could and I was explaining what it was about. But the thing is, without the context that it was a magician, that book didn't make any sense to me. But I got through it. I was like, oh, I'm so proud I read this book. I was 6. And then she was like, are you saying magician?
Hard.
And I'm like, oh, gotta reread it. And I never did. I never did, but.
Yeah, no, you already did the work. That's crazy. Language is hard.
It is.
It's
And even I'm embarrassed to say this, but sometimes my director at work, I don't understand language in the way, for what is it? Not the GRE. You know, in high school, you take these tests to get into school. What was it called? LSAT or something?
PSATs and
some type of, tests to see where you rank.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember just studying. I knew exactly what scores I wanted, and that's exactly what I got. And so I'm studying these grammar books. And at the moment, I understood grammar so well that I basically got a perfect score for that.
Wow.
But I'm at work and she keeps talking about how something shouldn't be this way in written form. And she's saying it should be a something verb.
Okay.
I, as a just English speaker, cannot tell you all these different types of verbs and I know maybe different nouns, but when you learn different languages, they're constantly using this this language to describe what it is.
Participle or totally.
And
gerund, is that a word?
But I don't know what kind of descriptor this descriptor is, but she'll say it. I had a presentation and she was like, well, this says collective organizing, but the next one says collective organizing and gathering people, but she was like, it should be similar in the structure, and she said a word,
the same type of verb,
the same type of verb, and I'm like, girl, what the fuck are you talking about? And she would do this all the time, and in my head I'm just I don't like the way that sounds.
Yeah.
I get that.
Even if I put it all in the same tense or whatever structure you mean, it's not flowing to me in a catchy way, and I wouldn't want to read that in an advertisement.
Right.
But that's so. Language is just it's a lot.
It's a lot, and so picking up and dropping. I mean, I lived in the Philippines.
Yeah, let's talk about that because you fully learned.
I fully learned not only Tagalog but a different language as well, because there's a lot of languages in the Philippines, and couldn't use it now. Like, I couldn't, like, I can't even understand. It was crazy because when I came back, it was like, oh my God, I understand everything every family member is saying, where normally I just tune it out. But now I'm back to the same, because I don't use it. Like, if you don't use language, you are not.
But I would think after a year it'd be locked in. But that's so
retain
interesting
it.
to hear you like couldn't.
Yeah, no. I just like strict, like, also, yeah, the way of living is so different. I don't eat any of the same foods. It's like the language is not useful almost.
Interesting.
So
those neural pathways are gone.
yeah.
But I saw this linguistics person, like a linguist, say that people who are, what's the word, polyglots?
Polyglots.
The ones who go online and they're like, I know like 10 languages are actually lying. Like the most languages a person can know at one time is like 4.
Why? Did they say why?
Because you have to constantly speak it. And you have to constantly be in like that train of thought. And like even when I talk to my friends who know 2 languages, like native Spanish and then like native English as well, like when they dream, they say they dream specifically in Spanish or they dream specifically in English, but it's never like
Interesting.
like that.
That's very interesting.
And like if you were to, you don't really know 10 languages fluently. Like they might know how to say like their name in 10 different languages or like talk about very common things, but to be fluent in a language, you have to really speak it all the time and like experience that language.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
so
that makes sense.
Guy that I know, his name is Parth. Talked to him on like 2 days ago, basically, and he's a polyglot. Like I think his girlfriend said he knew 7 languages, but he was saying that there are some languages, like I think he said like Korean, Turkish, and one other language, like the grammatical structure of that language is like so similar that like those are the easiest languages to learn if you know one of them. And kind of like languages are easier to learn when they share a like grammatical structure. And in that way, I'm like, okay, like I can understand someone knowing a lot of languages if like the vocab, like he was saying, like the vocab is easy. Well, not easy, but like you're gonna have to learn vocab in any language, but the grammar structure is the hard part.
Right.
And I just thought that was interesting because it's like these languages that don't even really have well, to my knowledge at least, and I have no idea, so this could just be fucking made up, but don't have a shared history. Like, because like Tagalog and Spanish have a shared colonizer, so that's why the language is somewhat similar. But in vocab,
the thing is
the grammar structure is completely
not
different.
At all. Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. That like.
Yeah, like Korean and Turkish.
Yeah, like what is the shared
history is that?
But aren't Turkish? Well, I don't know if I'm right, but I know white people, like certain types of Caucasian people, are Asian. Like those Russians who actually are Asian.
That's true.
Did you say Russia too?
I don't know what the third one was.
What other language?
I forgot.
He said Korean, Turkish, and
he said he didn't.
Okay.
He just didn't remember.
We'll play it back and figure it out.
Yeah.
But I know.
Drop it.
I know with English. I know with English, it's made of French and German words, which is why it should be easier for you to know French or like to learn French or German if you know English. Not based off sentence structure, but just like words.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's why we have 2 words for everything. So like forest is forêt in French, and then like woods is like a German word. Like
Woods.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
So like we have multiple ways to say the same thing because of those influences.
That's actually fascinating because I feel like when I hear those 2 languages specifically, I'm like, I never like am like, oh, I get what. Like I'm not really picking up anything.
But you get it when you read it.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so easy.
I think in German, wunderbar is wonderful. And
Right. I have heard some German words where I'm like, okay, like interesting.
Yeah.
That's close. But which came first, or is it just kind of influenced?
I think they were simultaneous. Yeah.
Man.
And you know, the first like white Americans were just like really ghetto.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, I'm not saying ghetto. Just like, you know, the poorest son of the lineage. Like it was nothing like Bridgerton. Like that, you know, Bridgerton. The brother who like the brother who decides to like travel all around and marries Penelope. Like that's the one that would have settled and had slaves. Cause like he's like the like you know what I'm saying, like the low
No, definitely.
It's the first 2 that gets the most money. Yeah. Like he would have just settled down in like a colonized places and like
they just came over here and were like, oh, we can be big here.
Yeah, because they have something that's worth something. Right. They could have, you know, they do it. They go to the Indie Islands. They go, you know, to different places. So that's why,
not that advanced. Yeah.
Baltimore accents are actually, I think, the original French accent. So
What?
I'm not French accents. I mean, English accents. That's
Interesting.
why.
Like, oh no, like those accents?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, literally.
All
Yeah,
our
no
Baltimore
disrespect to
fans.
Baltimore people out there.
Yeah, so I can't understand them either, but back in the
Yeah.
day, somebody could.
Right.
And it was the
And they
third
understand each
song.
other, and that's the important
That's
thing.
all language
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. I know. You have a Chicago accent.
I don't.
Mm,
Supposedly, I have a country accent.
I think Chicago accents are a little bit country.
This is the Great Migration.
Yeah. Okay. So how would you say? The place that you would put your undies and socks in, like you open something.
Your underwear drawer.
Well, let Audrey say it first.
Oh, sorry.
My drawer.
How would you say it? Like you have drawer.
Drawer? What is it? Drawer?
Because that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes it's like I can't think of the right way to say it. And like you say it's so country, but I'm like go to the drawer.
Drawer.
Like drawer. Like the drawer. I don't know.
And what is draws?
What
is that?
Jaws.
Draws.
No,
Yeah,
I know,
draws.
but like,
Yeah,
what is the
exactly.
word supposed to be? And how would you spell that?
Drawers.
Like the same as
It's the same. Spelled the same way.
I actually think, based on what I read, it's spelled DRAWLS. Your draws.
No, that's like a southern draw.
Oh.
Like,
No, but they.
That's how they spell draws.
I don't think that's the same
I don't
word.
know.
It would make more sense that it's drawers.
In my
like
mind,
draws.
what I am saying, your draws.
But I think it's spelled the same
That's
way
what I
as
thought.
drawers. Because you go inside your drawers to get the draws.
I never knew that.
That's what I always
That's what I thought, too.
When I had it
When
in
I-
my head.
When I'm saying it, I'm saying DRAWS. Your draws.
Yeah, but you said like how you would read it.
Right. But I don't know what the actual word is.
I think it is drawers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But
Interesting.
it's interesting that
Language.
it's
We can Google
interesting
it.
that
Yeah.
it's the same word, like full form in my head, but I would not call the drawer. I wouldn't call that. Can you put this in the drawers? Or like, can you put this in the?
No,
But-
yeah.
But it's the same word in our head,
Huh.
like long form. But it's not because it's
Yeah.
just a spoken thing. I would never really be writing that anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Language.
It's so interesting.
I think the lesson here is we need to pick up our own language again.
Well, French is our language now.
Oh, wait.
French is the most spoken language
Oh.
by everybody. Like it's not even spoken in French like that no more. It's like an African language now, or
Interesting.
like it's not a European language anymore.
Oh,
So,
wow. Like we've taken it over.
We've taken it over.
And what were you referring to as
It is
our
our
language?
I just feel like we don't really know how to speak English to each other like that.
okay.
What do you
Yeah.
mean?
I don't know. I'm
She's
saying
just talking.
Yeah. I'm just yapping.
Well, this is fun. Should we do? Should we
trying
do
to remember how to say
our
diaspora.
segment? This week unfinished.
Yes.
Okay.
So we do This Week Unfinished, which is basically a segment where we talk about what we want to finish for the week or what we haven't finished and plan not to finish because we just quit it.
Oh my god. So I started painting again.
Ooh.
And amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing painter. Her art,
I'm not that great, but I'll
No,
insert a
you're-
photo so you can see it.
Yeah. Look here. No, I'm kidding. Your apartment is filled with your art and it's dope.
Thank you.
But yeah.
Yeah, I have like a hobby, like desk. Oh my god. Cleaning and finding out all the things you picked up and put away is tragic. Embroidery, painting.
We're gonna have to have you back.
Hand built like literally, what is it called? Pottery.
Oh, wow.
So I was just like, I need to do something to decompress.
Mm.
So I was painting and I ended up painting like one painting of this figure of a man. Well, it looks like a man in thought, but it's like just geometry.
Oh.
And the other one was supposed to be a man in prayer.
Oh.
But I didn't finish it yet.
Very cool. Do you plan to?
I personally don't like the second one that much. I have to get another canvas and try it over. I think the
see.
proportions of the man for the second one is too small.
Got you.
But I did like the first one a lot.
Okay.
Nice.
Love that for you.
Love that.
What about you?
I do this thing. So sometimes I'll sit down and make like a playlist on Spotify, and I usually do it once
Okay.
per season. So I usually have like a fall, summer, spring, winter
Right.
playlist. But oftentimes I like start a playlist if I hear a song and I'm like, oh, I like this vibe. Like I'm gonna make a playlist of it, but I'll never finish that. Like, so I'll put like 3
Okay.
or 4 or 5 songs in it, like that. I'm like, oh, this reminds me of this song. Let me put them together. I feel like it would sound good. And then I'll not finish it, but then like I'll hear a song like as I'm listening to music over the course of like months, and I'll be like, this reminds me of this playlist that I started. And I'll just pop that song in that playlist, and then I'll kind of forget about it. And like many months later, I'll like be scrolling through my Spotify and I'll find a playlist that I'm like, I don't even remember this playlist. And I listen to it, and it's like a little like gift of music that I've come across that I really like.
Yeah.
And I recently came across one like that, and it was good. And it often it'll be songs that I only heard like one time before. Like it's a new song that I found. So it's like a song I almost have never heard before. I've heard it probably once. So it's like discovering a bunch of new music that I know for a fact that I like because I curated this playlist over time.
Right. It's doing future you a favor.
Yeah, basically, which is a whole different episode because I did buy a digital controller, and
I feel like we've been teeing up.
I did want to.
Yeah. Oh, we should definitely all talk about that. For me, I have a couple books locked and loaded. Yeah, it's probably a book. I went to the library. I don't have money. A book on philosophy that I'm trying to work through. I was rewatching The Good Place.
I didn't finish that.
And I was like, wouldn't it be cool to like know? I don't know. There's many different philosophies, but this one is about Western philosophy specifically.
And this is different than the Plato book you mentioned last. Okay.
Yeah, because I couldn't get through that, and I won't be finishing it. But this one kind of sums it all up, and a bunch of other ones. I feel like that might be better for me if I, finish it. So we'll see.
That's real. I feel like old ideas. I mean, like where's the refresh?
Right?
Can't be
right. Like the thing is, it's interesting. I'm okay. Let's be real. I'm also just watching Crash Course Philosophy on YouTube at the same time to kind of like really understand it. A lot of interesting questions that do come up in the day-to-day life. So I guess they do it. But also part of me is like, I'm sure someone in the eastern part of the world had a very much better formed thought about this, and I'll come across it at some point. But that's just my bias.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all for sharing. This has been another episode of the You Gonna Finish That podcast. I'm Adji.
I'm Zila.
And I'm Morgan.
And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.